How many jobs, for instance, do you anticipate creating with these new battery plants in the United States?
Well, roughly every battery plant is around 1,100 to 1,200 people. So if you think about that, 4 plants alone, and we're not done yet, that's a significant job creation.
General Motors is making major job cuts in Ohio. GM and its partner Altium Cells are cutting 550 jobs from its electric vehicle battery cell plant in Lordstown near Warren. Another 850 workers will be temporarily laid off as GM pauses production until at least May. Company cites a slowdown in EV car sales, in part due to the end of federal EV tax credits last month.
If you happen to hear anything about car manufacturing and layoffs in the news, you can be almost certain that it has to do with electric cars. Car manufacturers are now just finding out that most people do not want $80,000 to $100,000 electric trucks or cars. People don't want 100K vehicles. We don't even want 50K vehicles. We want a dependable vehicle that lasts 10 plus years and has readily available parts that can be maintained by the owner. We have a lot to cover in this video, so let's just get straight into it.
Tough news for Lordstown tonight. Altium Cells is cutting hundreds of jobs. It's a big blow to the village that's seen a lot of job loss already. The mayor tells us she's devastated. At the same time, a developer is proposing a data center in the area, and village council is weighing its decision. It's our top story tonight at 11.
Electric vehicle sales have dropped ever since federal tax credits for EV buyers expired. Now, that slowdown is creating major ripple effects where EV batteries are made. And for General Motors, that's in Trumbull County.
Absolute disappointment. I had hoped better for this facility.
The Altium Cells plant is now bracing for hundreds of layoffs. According to reports, GM plans to cut 550 jobs permanently. Another 850 workers will face temporary layoffs. Production stops January 5th and could stay idle through May.
I want it to stay open. It is one of I think it is our largest employer in Lordstown and in the surrounding areas. It's one of the larger ones. And so this affects a lot of people.
GM says it's part of a nationwide pullback in EV production. Demand just hasn't grown as fast as expected. And that hits hard here, where Altium was meant to mark Lordstown's comeback after the old GM assembly line closed. The mayor says a big portion of revenue comes from Altium Cells, and that impact will be felt.
But luckily, we do have some diversity in Lordstown now as far as businesses are concerned, and so it won't be as detrimental as it was when General Motors closed in 2019.
At the same time, there's also talk of a new project in Lordstown. A developer wants to build a multi-billion-dollar data center in the area that could bring in jobs and more money. But Village Council is looking at a ban on data centers. The mayor says she wants to be sure any new business truly benefits the community.
You definitely want to make sure that these businesses are not coming in at the expense of the residents.
After spending $47,000 on Chevy Bolt, then learning half the range disappears in the wintertime, then trying to trade it in less than 1 year later and was offered $24,000 at the same dealership I bought it from. People don't want 100K vehicles. We don't even want 50K vehicles. We want a dependable vehicle that lasts 10 plus years and or 300K miles and has readily available parts that can be maintained by the owner. I blame overly protective governmental regulation for consumers, regulatory capture, and corporate greed. Car prices are insane. They need to be manufacturing a car people actually want. The Hummer is not a good car. Wait, a 9,000-pound electric vehicle SUV that weighs twice as much as the other SUVs isn't green and in demand? People are near broke, everything went up except our wages. What did you expect trying to sell $80,000 trucks? And who can afford insurance on an $80,000 vehicle? So now let's take a look at some of the stories from the workers that were laid off at the Factory Zero in Detroit.
I'm laid off indefinitely. I'm pregnant and I'm trying to move and I can't because the layoff. I can't get verified of employing with the layoff.
The last layoff we had, we found out a day and a half ahead of being off for a month. And so people had no time to plan for it. I'm still waiting for my home plant to be retooled so that I can go home. I drive an hour to get here every day.
This is my 7th GM plant. 7th. Started at SPO, Pontiac, Willow Run, SPO, got transferred, forced to Warren powertrain, then forced down to Toledo for 7 years. Came back up to Romulus engine, then transferred to Pontiac stamping, now Factory Zero. Yeah.
And if they can get away with getting rid of this second shift, there's a real danger they can close this plant too.
Yeah, that's where it seems like it's headed.
I left a job that I was at for 7 years to come here just to get laid off a year and a half later. That ain't right. For us to be Motor Trend Winner of the Year and being laid off is kind of backwards. It doesn't make any sense to me.
We all need to be working, and it's not right that people around this time get laid off. It's Christmas time, holiday time. People need to be working.
I was laid off at Chrysler, and then 2 weeks later I got a robocall that said I was terminated. They didn't need me no more. It was over a year ago.
And what's happening to you now?
Yeah, I'm getting laid off, but it comes with the territory, I guess.
It's not just GM getting hit by layoffs. All the suppliers to Factory Zero, mine included, are getting hit way harder. Our plant makes things exclusively for GM for Factory Zero and went from 800 plus people to just over 80 total. Factory Zero has 0 workers, 0 cars, 0 profit, 0 reliability. It's like people don't want overpriced, unreliable vehicles. This is GM's fault for diving into the false EV narrative. They shouldn't have pushed electric cars so hard. Now let's take a look at this video from October 2022 when the Ultium Cells factory was just about to open, and just take a look at the difference between then, how they were so optimistic about the future of electric cars and how this is going to bring so many jobs in.
You know, you can really kind of feel the momentum behind the Ultium Cells plant in Lordstown, and the bigger it gets, the more workers they obviously need.
We are very close to announcing our start of production, so stay tuned for more.
Sounds good. And Chris, obviously, you know, the more you ramp up, the more workers you need. And I was looking at the website. You guys have a bunch of jobs open right now. So what are you looking for? What kind of qualifications does somebody need if they are applying for any of these jobs?
So obviously, if you're applying for a maintenance position or something that's technical, you need to have what is described on the job description because it does require a little bit more skill set. If you're applying for an operations position, it doesn't require that you have any specific experience. We can take anybody. We can take high school graduates. We can take people working in the service industry. We can take anybody and train them on how to do how to work in these jobs. Basically, what we look for is if a person can learn, can apply the learning, and can teach others, because we're going to continue to expand out. That's the baseline for what we need.
Does it help, you know, where we are with the manufacturing background that, you know, a lot of workers even have in some capacity around here?
Well, it does help to have that kind of background, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
It requires more of this than this, right?
Okay.
So you have to be willing to learn.
I mean, you can see just how appealing this was to a lot of people, you know. Probably a lot of people moved there to pursue the career in this, and now they're getting laid off just like 2 or 3 years later. So no more going green. GM is suffering from profound mismanagement. That's the big problem. And once again, the workers are finding themselves casualties to poor decision making at the executive level. One would think domestic automakers would have questioned why Toyota wasn't jumping into the EV with both feet.